Okay, good morning. This is the first official live stream. Man, I had to have done that better. How did I mess that up? I'm over here. It's early in the morning. I just got up a little bit ago, and this is the plan. It's for me to wake up every morning and just do my writing routine with you guys. So this way I don't have to edit videos anymore because I've been working as a videographer, and now that editing process has overcome my desire to edit more for YouTube. Not that I don't like doing this, I still love doing this for you guys. So I'm just going through and opening up my chat so that if you guys ever do show up and watch this live, I can see what you say. How do I even get there? Oh, here we go. We'll just go to the actual live stream. Okay, so there's a live chat here. So if anybody says anything, I will see it. Okay, I have a couple things lined up already. I'm surprised to wake up to things lined up. So how do I do that? Oh, well, there was a question, easy enough, in the last video that said, what kind of paper do I use for practicing? I can kind of be a little bit of a snob when it comes to paper, but my history is not very snobby when it comes to paper. So I will literally write on anything. I am so stingy with my paper. I have practice sheets where I've practiced over what I've already practiced. So I'll fill the whole paper up, and then I will come back, and then I will turn the paper sideways and practice over it with a pencil. I don't know why I do that. I have so much paper, and I'm trying to get rid of it and go through it, but I tend to use every scrap of paper to the end of it. Like, I even have these papers right now. I have these papers that were a misprint, and I refuse to throw them away because I'm going to write on these papers. So I don't worry too much about the kind of paper that I write on. Unless I have some kind of job for somebody, then I'll typically use some watercolor paper or a Bristol paper. And I usually use those types of papers because, one, they hold the ink really well, and I can use any ink that I have. And number two, they have a really nice deckled edge to them, and I love seeing the torn edges. I just really love that aesthetic. So that's my little spiel on paper. I really don't have a preference for when I practice. This paper that I was using yesterday, it felt a little sticky, so when my pinky and ring finger rubbed against it, it kind of got stuck to the paper a little bit, so that was a little bothersome. But this paper that I used is from Target. It's a medium weight drawing paper. Acid free. That's it. And I had 3 sheets left, so I thought, I'm going to go ahead and pull those out and use them because I have too much paper. Like I said, I hold on to paper for some reason. So I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to go through it. I'm trying to use it up. So do the same. There was another comment, and this one came from my blog. So I should have, I didn't even check this. I didn't even check if everything's right. Oh, okay, perfect. Look, if you go down in the description for the video, I have links to everything. Not everything, but enough to get started here. So I've been making an attempt to write more often, long form essays. And so I've been writing blogs. And somebody commented on my blog last night. And what they said I think was rather important. So I'm going to have to do it over here on the big computer. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to pull my phone out. I'll read you the comment from the phone. But I think this is a good... Well, let me just read you the comment, and then you will see why it's good. Okay, so he says, thanks for the article. I'm really struggling with keeping my consistency. I know I need to take my time, but I really need someone to pat my back and say, you're doing great. Keep writing. And it's true, you are. If you make it to the table. It's only a while since I started learning, okay, and kind of frustrated. Any tips on that? Well, the main thing is that you just have to be patient. And for me, it was really easy early on, handwriting, because I didn't really care if my handwriting sucked. My interest in handwriting had very little to do with how it looked, and it had more to do with what came as a result of developing handwriting. So I was really interested back then in becoming a better student because I was flunking out of college. So I could care less what my handwriting looked like. I just wanted to know that handwriting was going to make me a better person in regards to school. And it did work in that sense. One thing it did, it helped fill the void of other negative things that I was leaving behind. So it was a positive thing that I brought into my life to push out negative things. But as far as the quality of your handwriting goes, you have to be really patient. And if you don't follow Perfect Biscuits already, go check out Perfect Biscuits, another handwriting channel. David Di Giovanni, I think that's his name. Really great penman. But he pulled out in his live stream recently some of his old practice books. And I was watching the live stream, and I was looking at the quality of the writing, and I thought, wow, he's come from the same place. It takes time. All of us who have achieved anything impressive started at a level that was certainly less than impressive. And the only difference is that we have stuck it out maybe a little longer than those who didn't quite get there. So I myself have been handwriting in cursive for almost 7 years. It's going to be 7 years in May of this year. So we're getting close to the 7-year mark. And I know David's been writing for a long time as well. And any other person out there with impressive handwriting, they've been doing it for a long time. So the only thing I can say is you just got to ride the wave until that wave is done. Another thing that I think is valuable, and I'm going to pull out my old books in a second here so you can see how things changed. And he also has a second part of his question. It says, and I wish I knew what I really want to do with my writing. And it's great you're not saying which movement and method to write is right. So he's talking about finger movement versus whole arm movement. Yeah, that for me it's kind of tough to say which is best because I have found a preference and I have found a way that works best for me. So it's hard to assume that not everyone would perceive it that way. But I know that they shouldn't, or I shouldn't see it that way. So, finger writing, I think, especially in these last few months, I've been listening to some other people talk, and it's been opening up my mind to the potential of finger writing. And then I was sitting down for a session of writing, and I was using a Sharpie, and I was doing these big strokes with a Sharpie, and I was realizing that I'm using finger movement, and I'm quite liking it. So, that was that. Okay. Let's get back to his question. So he says he really wants to learn whole arm movement, but his determination is crumbling away because he sees other people writing better than him. They're writing better than him with finger movement, while some people say that I should be able to write good in whole arm movement. So it takes time. It's not something that comes overnight. And this is why I pulled out some of my old books here. It's because it really takes time. It's not something that's going to happen right away. And you got to be ready to suck for a long time. like I said, for me, it was really easy to get through those years where my handwriting was less than impressive because I had no interest in how it looked. I was looking for different kinds of results. So by the time I started to focus on the aesthetics of my handwriting, I had already been practicing for, at that point, maybe 3 or 4 years. So, to put it in perspective, that's a lot of time handwriting. And I was spending sometimes 2 hours a day at the desk writing, right-handed and left-handed. And I think this is something important to mention because I have found that training both hands makes a really big difference in the rate that you progress in your handwriting. I've seen it in my students. People on YouTube have commented and attested to that same thing. And if you read my most recent article on how to improve your handwriting, I talk briefly about the studies, they are studies, but now they're moving into the practical arena. They're training surgeons, the surgical techniques with either hand, and that's because it results in this intermanual transfer of skill learning, as they call it. But basically what it means is that when you do something with the left hand and you learn something new with the left hand, the right hand benefits from that. It actually improves also. So I would say a lot of the time, I wouldn't even write with the right hand. I would just write with my left hand, and at the end of that session, my right hand had improved. So that's an interesting note, but the only thing I can say is be patient. Be patient with yourself and just stick it through and have fun. Yeah, don't worry about the quality of it. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the nuances that come with it, especially with something like whole arm movement. There's so many little things about it, and one day you're gonna sit down and it's gonna come out nice, and you can be happy about that. So just stick with it. It's a slow process. Don't rush it. Enjoy it. And that's all I'm going to say on that. So I'm going to pull out my books really quick just to show you. And something interesting that I noticed in my own handwriting journey, especially with the left hand, because the left hand was a blank slate, was that the left hand seemed to improve in 3 months chunks. It was almost as if every 3 months, all of a sudden, some neurological thing took place and my hand could write better. So that was something I noticed, and this is why I keep my books, because I like to look through and see how things progressed. And that was one thing that has stood out to me when I look at the dates, is that the left hand seemed to improve every 3 months, and a significant jump. It was almost as if it was overnight, but obviously there's a 3-month buildup there of slow progression, of slow knowledge being built up neurologically within you. Okay, we're going to grab the books. I'll make this part brief. I also want to do some writing today. I don't want to just talk. But yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. This is the problem with going live, and the wonderful thing about editing and the magic of it is that you don't see how often I get distracted in my videos. How's my hair look today, by the way? Do I even have anybody in here? I was wondering when I woke up this morning, it's like, should I worry about my hair? Nope, this is the wrong book. And I decided I wasn't going to worry about it. I mean, I was looking back at some of my old videos before I cut my hair, and I thought, wow, I really had some cojones to show up in front of camera like that. Not that I didn't like my hair. I've never been one to care too much about my aesthetic. Okay, so this journal here is the first one that I actually worked on. This is the very first journal. So, sorry, I'm looking at things. Okay, we can stop looking at things. Anyways, okay, so this is the very first journal. I've revisited it since I filled it up. Like I said, I'm really stingy with paper, and for some reason I feel as if I have to go back and fill in every single crevice of white on paper. I don't know why I feel like I have to do that. It's kind of an OCD thing. I don't know if anybody else has this, but sometimes when I'm walking down the street, I can't step on the cracks. Or it's not that I can't, but that I enjoy avoiding the cracks. You know, the lines in the cement. Sometimes you have to take 2 little steps and a big step, and then a big step and a big step and 2 little steps. Okay, that maybe it's probably just me, but I know there's another person out there who does that. Okay. All right, so like I said, I've come back and I filled in every crevice of this book. Okay, here, this right here, this is my first day. No, sorry, this is day 2. Day 1 is somewhere else because I use it for educational purposes, and I've made scans of it. So it's out of the book. But this is day 2 on May 29th, 2012. And I know you're looking at it and you're probably thinking, what the hell am I looking at? Because it's in mirror image. So this is day 2 with my left hand. I am writing in mirror image. Down here at the bottom, this is my right hand. Here you can see all of the letters in accordance to their number. So this is what my writing looked like when I started 6.5 years ago. And it isn't the worst handwriting. I already kind of knew that I had decent handwriting. I didn't realize how bad it was until later on because I had no point of perspective. And that's the other thing. Don't compare yourself to other people. We are all going on our own journey. And handwriting, some people, they're not following what you would consider traditional techniques or studying as adamantly as some other people, but they're doing great. They have found their own way about handwriting. And so everyone's going to find their own way about handwriting if they keep at it long enough. So really, do not compare yourself to other people. You do not want to do that. It is not a good habit to get into. I know from experience, it's not something you want to do. So you can see here, you might, and it's riddled with handwriting from later, because like I told you, I like to come back and fill in every crevice of paper with some kind of writing. I don't even know why I do that, but I did it. Okay, so here, this is a lot of right-handed writing from the time, 2012. I understand it's not bad. It's pretty decent, but this is all finger writing. I had no idea that anybody wrote any differently at this point in my life. I was just writing. And here I'm memorizing powers of 2. So if you're ever into seeing that, I can still recite it from memory. So I'm just wanted to show you this, that we're all coming from our own places, our own jump off starting points, and everybody's going to progress at their own rate. Do not compare yourself to anybody else, and be patient with yourself. You know, most times the only person you're going to have there to pat you on the back is you. Hey, good job today. You got to the desk. You did the live stream. You woke up this morning. You woke up at a decent time. Yesterday I was up till a ridiculous time getting all this sorted out because the video exported at 480p. I don't know how that happened, but hopefully this one comes out at 1080p as planned. And anyways, I was up really late, and I woke up this morning, and I got up out of bed, first try, no snooze, washed my face, and now I am here, live streaming. So I wanted to do my writing session as I normally do it every morning. You want to see a jump in progression? Okay, so this is 2012, May 30th, really quick. Now, this doesn't have dates. Here we go. This is still 2012. Look at the change in handwriting. Now, I have no idea. I didn't pre-screen any of these, so please don't go and read them. But just really quickly, look at the quality of the handwriting. Am I too bright here? Is that better? Okay, that looks a little better. Less jarring on the eyes, I hope. Okay. Here we have shakiness in the lines. There's this really sporadic spacing within letters, between letters. Nothing is looking good. Ignore the blue writing, that's from years later. And then now you can see there's some uniformity in the spacing. And this is taking place between letters. And this is all intuitive. I am not studying my handwriting or anyone else's handwriting at this point. I am just writing daily. And you can kind of see the progression. And here in this book, I think this is the one book where my handwriting progresses the most, because towards the end here, that uniformity becomes much more prominent. So here we're into October. So I started in May. We're now into October, 5 months later. And I can see in my own writing that some of these strokes are being made with confidence now. This is all left-handed, by the way. And this is another reason I think the left hand is such a good place to start from, because compared to your left hand, your right hand's going to be great. Or your dominant hand, if you're left-handed, your left hand's going to be great and your right hand's going to suck. But you will have that point of comparison. So rather than comparing yourself to somebody else, you can just look at your dominant hand and say, oh, well, if I really needed to write something nice, I could just use this hand. It's a good way to go about it. Okay. Anyways, I think that's going to cover more or less. Now look at this here. This is an interesting point of the journal. Sorry, I'm going back at it. This is left-handed forward writing. So I usually write left-handed backwards, and you can see there's a huge difference in the left-handed backwards compared to the left-handed forward. And it still shocks me today how big of a difference there is in that movement. The pushing across the page versus the pulling across the page. So, something to consider. And this is why, when I have students who are left-handed and they ask me, oh, how do I write in mirror image? I'm left-handed. So, well, you're going to learn to write in mirror image with your left hand, and with your right hand, you're going to learn to write forward. And in most cases, my left-handed students far exceed the progression that a right-handed student makes. And I like to believe it has something to do with the right brain hemisphere being so interwoven with the left hand, because the right brain hemisphere is what takes care of spatial awareness. It's what's building the picture around us. It's what's calculating the spacing in your writing. So I think left-handed people really have an advantage, and I've been trying to make greater efforts to learn how to write forward well with the left hand. But enough of that. I would like to do my little writing session. I'm pretty sure I've been talking to no one here for the last whatever amount of time. But these videos are meant for playback. So if you're watching this in the playback, yay. Okay. So as usual, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them as we go along. How much? My brother said yesterday, he says, I expect minimum 30-minute streams. I thought that's a good mark to aim for. But I can't actually tell how long I've been streaming for. So we're going to have to figure that out eventually. I hope everything looks good. On my screen, everything just froze for some reason, so don't know what that's about. Hopefully my internet didn't go down. Sometimes that happens. It says I'm live though. Okay. Well, if for whatever reason the stream did go down, we will be back shortly. No, we should be live. Okay. Yeah, we should be live. So I'm just going to keep doing my thing. This other computer is doing its own thing, so I'm not going to worry about it. Today is December 9th, a big day in the world of some of my good friends, as well as myself, because I'm involved in some projects. And today is a big day for us. Hopefully everything goes well. Now, to the person who mentioned finger writing in their comment earlier. When I write in my notebook, because of the thickness of this notebook, I have no choice but to finger write. And that's okay. Okay, camera looks good. I really enjoy writing numbers. Now, I always do the first writing session in the morning backwards. So don't worry if you can't read it. It's not really meant to be read. Today is a wonderful day. Oh, we have some people sending me stuff in the chat. Or maybe it's not for me at all. But I'm going to have to take a look at what you've said. So give me just 1 second. Just a hot second. Okay, we're getting there. Oh, Diane. He said, Hey, I'm a lefty and I just started the whole arm movement and I think it's going well. I'm not sure. I'm sure it is. What papers you use for practicing? Oh, hi, Shazan. I actually discussed that earlier in the stream. It was the first thing I addressed, but since you're here now, we can talk about it. I use any scrap of paper I can find. Almost literally. So I talked a little bit about it, but I have a problem with paper. So see this paper? This is a misprint from earlier this week, and I'm keeping it because I'm going to cover it with writing. So I care very little about the kind of paper I practice on. I will use any kind of paper, and if I find a paper that I've never used before, I get really excited because I'm curious as to how all the inks are going to perform on it. So when it comes to practice, I am not at all picky with paper, which is why I really enjoy Waterman fountain inks, because I haven't found that they bleed tremendously on any kind of paper. This paper here is a homemade paper, handmade paper. So the quality on it is a little different than what you would be used to traditionally. So you can see just, kind of, there is some feathering in the writing, but I really love what it does to the ink, that aesthetic. It doesn't really bleed through, although it looks like it might, but it doesn't. So this is my special notebook. I've been trying to make it really pretty so that, there's just writing usually on one side, but I'll probably go back through it and cover the other side because I cover everything. How should I transition from compact ovals and slant drills towards writing alphabets? So the best thing that you can do in that regard is find yourself a method. There are a lot of handbooks that are available for free. You can download PDFs, but the handbooks explain much better than I could how you would transition. I tend to be very visual, so I like to see things play out. If you would like to, a recent video actually that you can watch, if you go over to Perfect Biscuit's YouTube channel, he has a live stream that just recently came out where he's practicing, and he starts off with his warm-up drills, and you can watch how those drills will begin to translate into some handwriting. So hopefully you find that helpful. If not, go to iampeth.com and find the resources that they have there. You can download the Palmer Method handbook, which is the one that I use in PDF format. I may actually just go ahead and upload that to my website so that actually it may be available already. Well, anyways, I'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to put a link in the description once that's done. I'll do that later this evening or this afternoon. And yeah, but the handbooks explain pretty well how to transition from drills into handwriting. And also you can use a little bit of common sense in your practice and see if whether or not, obviously the compact oval drill isn't going to directly relate into something like the letter T, but there are elements of it. So, like the in stroke, the entry stroke into the letter T would maybe follow the curve of the compact oval on the outside. But, the little things that you can begin to pay more and more attention to as you progress in your practice. But, overall, you just kind of have to notice which movements, relate or correlate to each letter. I think it's pretty intuitive too. So there are some drills that are a little more specific, but once you start handwriting, I think you will find that the arm in the training that you've done already is understanding how they translate into the letters. How the compact oval, for example, translates into the letter A. So hopefully that answered your question well enough. Sorry about that. Okay, one thing I wanted to say. The idea behind this live stream is, one, it saves me the time of having to edit videos for you guys, so I can do this more often. I feel bad because I've had videos that I filmed that are just sitting in my hard drive waiting to be edited, and I haven't had time for that because of other projects that take priority, unfortunately. So my idea is I would like to encourage you guys to practice with me. That's why I call it Let's Practice Cursive. Let's practice together. So that is the idea behind these. So there may be times where you're just going to watch me write, and I think that's what most of you might expect. So maybe I should just stop talking and just keep writing. Okay. I'm not very happy with this page so far, but in the spirit of being kind to yourself, I'm going to pat myself on the back for even making it to the table. Okay. So that's my daily entry. I just do one page at a time. Okay, I'll go ahead and do a little bit of, see, like, look, this is just regular printer paper. Paper that, for whatever reason, was sitting in my paper drawer, and I just pulled it out. So I'm going to do a little bit of practice with the dip pen. Actually, I think I'm going to use a pencil today. I need to grab that. Can't find my good pencil or my good sharpener. Anyways, there's nothing wrong with these pencils. Is the contrast on that great enough? Can you see the pencil writing? Maybe that's too low. Let me know if the movement camera is shaking. May have to find a different spot for it rather than the table. I'm having a hard time seeing my writing in the screen, so I'm imagining that you are as well. We'll just practice with the pen. I've been wanting to make a video on the letter U for a long time. I haven't done it yet. It's an ugly U. We're getting worse. This is another reason why I think the live streams are going to be really valuable for you guys, because most of the times I don't include things like that. But it's a part of handwriting. Nobody's perfect all the time. I like to tell my students, I'm not a machine. You can expect to see me make mistakes. Just like that. Okay, we're going to do this one last line, and then we're going to take off. Oh, sukma. I've been practicing like this. Get quite used to writing with my arm. Yeah, those are hard letters, L, K, and B. Sometimes, yeah, lower descenders too. Is it recommended to fix that? Well, it depends what you want. I don't think there's anything wrong with using a little bit of arm or wrist movement and finger movement in combination with your whole arm movement. By the way, I've just been having a little break with my writing practice session. I see your live stream. What a timing. Yeah. Yes. That's the point. You're invited to sit down and practice with me. So if the live stream can encourage that, all the better. That's the goal. Yeah, I wouldn't say you necessarily have to fix it unless you're aiming to be very proficient in whole arm movement. If that's the case, then you are going to want to correct that, I guess. It's really your choice. I don't want to tell you what to do. I'm by no means an expert in any of this. I'm just somebody who's kind of taken to it. And in my experience, I enjoy sitting down and writing using the whole arm. But when I'm writing for myself, or usually, or say an application, or a form of some kind, or I don't necessarily approach it using whole arm movement. One thing that I've done recently is in my movement, and I talk a little bit about this in the article I've written recently. All links are in the bio. But just being aware of the movement and what kind of movement you want to use at the time, I think makes a big difference. So if I'm sitting on a couch, I need to write something, and I don't have a table in front of me, I'll use finger movement. And the way I approach it is I tend to rest my palm on the side, and it's kind of a whipping motion downward with the finger. So that, for me, is really practical if I need to write without the big table and I don't have the space to incorporate whole arm movement. So it depends why you want to develop whole arm writing. For me, at this point, it's more or less a hobby, and I do it because I enjoy it, and it's satisfying to me. So that's why I do it. But you got to find out your why. Justify it, because it's a very consuming thing. Somebody, I saw somewhere, I think it might have been on Reddit, somebody was saying, how do I improve my handwriting without failing out of school, because he wants to spend all his time handwriting and no time studying? For me, the two were intertwined. I'd go and review my notes, which were all handwritten in cursive. And when I reviewed my notes, I would write them with the left hand backwards. So, and get to practice by reviewing. So that's how I did it. But anyways, this is a little bit off topic. So we're nearing the hour mark. For these morning sessions, I think an hour will be the maximum that I do. I need to get started with the rest of my day. It's been a pleasure sitting here and writing and chatting with the few of you who have shown up. Thank you, everybody who asked questions. We will see you ideally very soon, maybe even tomorrow. I might do this again tomorrow. We'll see how it pans out. And we'll also see if this time slot is best. It's best for me because I can wake up early and do this essentially before I get my day started. But we will play around with the time schedule. Thank you for tuning in. See you guys later.